I want to eat your pancreas. I want to eat. What? So, I love romance in anime, whether it is the main focus of a series or film or an additional genre that complements the characters' relations and arcs. Generally speaking, I'm usually a sucker for this kind of thing. I've seen some romance anime so sweet that made my heart ache and then melted whole. I've seen some romantic relationships between characters completely emotionally scar me for the rest of my life. But I think no other has made me feel both in the capacity that this anime film has. So, let's try to get into why I believe this anime with the most misleading title ever made was able to become my favorite romance anime that I've seen so far in my weeboo life. No, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas is not a horror anime film, or even a dark comedy, but indeed the story of how these two young high schoolers' lives intertwine with each other and change forever. On its surface, like any romance, it has a pretty simple concept, and the story itself isn't anything crazy as a film like Your Name, but there's a twist to it that makes it unique in its own right, and pulls your heartstrings without feeling too repetitive or obvious, to the point where it doesn't feel genuine. And it's also different from how the one from Your Lie in April utilizes it, since they're both so similar. You see, this little twist is not just used by Yoro Sumino, the original author of the light novel, as a time clock that moves the story along towards one obvious destination. There's much more to it than that. I love how Your Lie in April executes it in its own terms, but the level of subtlety and maturity in which this one plot point unravels this particular story and characters was done in a way I've rarely seen done in other shows or films like I Want to Eat Your Pancreas as. It's so simple and yet so masterfully done and emotionally resonating to the point it becomes hard for me to describe exactly why it feels so with mere words rather than you experiencing them for yourself. Our main protagonists and their chemistry together was such a fun sight to behold. I really found myself invested in their stories from the very beginning, as their personalities felt so real. Usually, not just in anime, but in fiction in general, fictional characters and the situations they experience in the story are exaggerated, especially in animation, where certain aspects of the world and people's personalities have to be portrayed with more expression and color, so the emotion behind it can be felt more easily than in comparison to a live action setting. I still love that. I adore the many realities that you can create in animation, and you can still relate on a personal level to those more unique scenarios because there is a humanity in the characters that the writers and voice actors evoke. But the way Haruki and Sakura are written, and the way their voice actors Mahiro, Takatsuki, and Lin portray those characters and the situations they share together throughout, it's all done in such a subtle and very human way. The whole approach to this film was tackled very realistically. I believe that people like these and the scenarios they've experienced could actually happen in real life. I was watching a real drama unfold right in front of my very eyes. Of course, there are certain scenes that broke that mold. It was still created within the boundaries of animation, so you expect certain rules to be broken in order to embellish certain moments, but the lead up to them hit so close to home for the most part that I couldn't help but to actually tear up and scream at the screen a lot of time while watching this film, wishing things will turn out differently or stay the same in other moments for these two characters. At first I wasn't quite sure what to think about Sakura as a character because, like Haruki, I thought she was cute of course, but the way she acted a lot of the time around him felt superficial. I guess I'm still very much an Achiman when it comes to girls like her a lot of the time. You do find out early on why she is so interested in this very quiet and introvert person in Naruki that has no friends and spends his days reading books instead of interacting with other people. But I still couldn't help in putting myself in his shoes and wonder if Sakura treated him as a friend for the most part because of pity and the sense of responsibility and as a last self-righteous act, or because she really wanted to help him connect with people and keep him away from his loneliness. And so as we and Haruki get to spend more time with her and get to know her more, we start to uncover more layers to Sakura that even she didn't think existed at first. We slowly understand that maybe the first possibility could in fact have been true, but even she comes to the realization that no longer that mindset carries their relation, and that they actually built a far stronger bond than what she initially anticipated. Her initial motivation for doing so might have been selfish for Haruki, but I ended up relating to it so much because of the implications behind her getting too close to this person she knew nothing about, as I started to think about the context of the situation she was in. And Haruki to me as well wasn't too hard to relate to, although, unlike Sakura, I did so right from the start. And although in lesser hands, this character could have been just another cliche, antisocial boy needs to meet a person that values his differences and teaches him how to connect with the world around him. In this one's, it didn't feel forced. It didn't feel unrealistic, mainly because his personality was different from what you expect initially. It was toned down, and it hit close to home because you can believe a person like him exists in this world and understand how someone like him will connect with others. Why he prefers his own company instead of surrounding himself in large groups. He doesn't hate his current situation or who he just is that way. And the author doesn't make a character such as Sakura change him completely by the end of the story, but instead simply showing him how a life with someone else can be significant to his own, and how valuable and precious it can be. Of course, the animation, direction, and cinematography are absolutely beautiful. This film is masterfully constructed, and its visuals do stay in your mind. The goddamn key art is enough to do that already. And I also appreciate a lot how simple and yet different and unique the character designs and the look and feel of this world were. Plus the sound and the score, like everything else, were subtle, yet perfect as a companion to how the rest of the film was constructed. Words aren't enough to describe how this film makes me feel every time I watched it. Considering the amount of people I see talking about I Want to Eat Your Pancreas, it is definitely one of the most underrated anime out there, not just inside the genre itself, but in general. I think this film deserves much more love and recognition. So if you want a mature yet sweet and heartbreaking anime film to watch, I Want to Eat Your Pancreas will be perfect for you. And yes, you do find out why the title is the way it is, and how it connects to the story. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and as always, I hope you all stay safe and well, and hopefully keep discovering new gems to watch and read here in my channel. Until the next one, ciao, matane.